loves, Dre Malay, the girl from around the way, and in today's video I'm back with some commentary. So if you don't know, T.I and Tiny went on the Red Table Talk to discuss their most recent, or I should say T.I.'s most recent comments that he made about his daughter Deyjah, who's 18 years old, about taking her to the gynecologist to make sure that her hymen is still intact, to make sure she's still a virgin. Okay, so he made these comments about a couple of weeks ago, and everybody was like up in arms, like he shouldn't be policing her body. She's 18 years old, you know, everything, myself included, because I was like, T.I is trash. Like, come on now, really? But he came on to Red Table Talk because his daughter Deyjah wanted him to clear some things up, and he came to do that, okay? So if you know about the Red Table Talk, you know that Jada is a little bit more open-minded. She's more free-spirited in her beliefs, and she's always going with the understanding ear, so to speak. And everybody was side-eyeing this interview, like, was she going to ask the hard-hitting questions that we wanted to know? Was T.I going to be receptive to the feedback, if she was to give any at all? So T.I goes on the Red Table Talk, and he pretty much, Deyjah was perfectly fine with him accompanying her to the appointment. Her mother was also there. He wasn't in the examination room, and this was when she was between 15 and 16 years old. So I think we kind of got this whole situation wrong. And I was thinking about it, like I said, a lot of people don't believe T.I. They're saying, oh no, he's still problematic. I don't believe him. He looked like he's lying, which he could be lying. But I thought about this, and I listened to the interview carefully, and I picked up on those body language, social cues, and nuances. Let me just back it up here for a second. I need y'all to stay with me so we can connect these dots, right? So let me first start off by saying that T.I is trash. His comments were wrong. He could have said it differently. He could have not said it at all. That's something that he's doing with his daughter. A lot of people don't like to comment on what's going on in their household, but he was on a platform with two other women, one of them being Miguel's wife, on this platform, and he said what he said. I'll play the clip here.
Find this right now. I need to know if your hymen's still there.
So we can share information. Is there anything that you would not want me to know? Oh, okay. See, Doc, ain't no problem.
You are the worst.
And so then, right?
Now, if you listen closely, those women were laughing, they were cackling, they said a few things, oh my gosh, that's so outrageous, or whatever the case may be, but none of them corrected him. None of them, as a woman, said, hey, listen, let me ask you these questions. What do you mean? None of them said anything. They kind of, if anything, laughed and joked and kind of egged him on. So when he first had this initial interview, we had no details. We just jumped to conclusions, okay? And this girl has gone on to delete her social media accounts, and you could tell she, you know, was definitely affected by people talking about her virginity, and AKA her sexuality. Nobody should know about that, especially for the world to see. They had people, you know, commenting on her Instagram and Twitter saying how sorry they were. They had some people trying to buy her virginity. Just outrageous stuff, which could have been avoided. You know that T.I has a history of cheating on his wife, being misogynistic at times. He is trash as hell. He don't treat Tiny right. You know, the list goes on. He doesn't treat his sons the same way that he treats his daughters. We've seen all of these things, and I am not about to sit up here and act like this is not T.I and this is not what's happening, okay? Or what has happened in the past. But, and I say this, like, just hear me out with an open mind, y'all. This man is a man who is trying to protect his daughter. Now, was it the right way? No, maybe not. Could it have been differently? Sure. Could he have not said nothing at all? Absolutely, but he did, and he spoke up, you know, in her honor. Now, listen to this. T.I was off the hook with it. If you listen to that podcast closely, those women were egging him on, and y'all can say what y'all want to. If all it takes is one person to say something and speak up. What do you mean you check her hymen? I don't feel like that's whatever. And then he could have went on to say, oh, well, I did this when she was 15. She's now 18. You get what I'm saying? Nobody said anything. Two women who have, I'm assuming, bleeding vaginas, okay? These are women who allowed a man, father, son, or anybody indifferent to come on the show and discuss how he was policing her body. Neither one of those women stood up and said anything. Okay, and I don't think nobody is saying anything to that because they're focusing so much on T.I, who is a bigger star and is a man who has some problematic who has some issues in the past, right? So he's the villain in all this, when I feel like those women were the henchmen. They were equally as wrong, because I wouldn't allow somebody on my platform who is speaking against or saying something that is potentially offensive and problematic on my platform about the people who I represent. And that's for women, that's for black women, that's for black educated women, black, whatever category that I fit into. I wouldn't allow somebody into my space and then they say something that's potentially off the hook and I not say anything. They could have easily asked him a question, went another direction, positioned him differently, and still made it funny and humorous, but got some more information on that. I mean, if you're going to call yourself a podcaster and a journalist or whatever, like, come on, y'all had to do better than that. And T.I. fell for the bait. From what it sounds like, from what I gather on the Red Table Talk, T.I. is a man who understands the game, for real. And because he has this shady past, he understands what's out there more so than his 15-year-old, 16, 17, even 18-year-old daughter is, because this man is almost 40 years old. You get what I'm saying? So it's him trying to maybe make up. This is a man who's had infidelity on his wife, been to jail, and had this whole past. So he's got a lot of wrongs in his life. So maybe he's trying to get it right with his daughter. And let's not discredit him for that. You know what I'm saying? People get so uncomfortable and up in arms when they see a black man stepping into the spotlight role, whether he's over his steps, whether he's over his bounds or not. But let's just give the man something for showing up, right? I mean, at least that's just how I'm feeling. A little bit of his possessiveness over this girl, it's probably him knowing and understanding that he got a little bit of karmic debt to pay and he don't want it to be her that is the price. You get what I'm saying? And that's understandable too. A lot of men are like that. He understands that he probably put a lot out there and it's going to come back and come get his ass. And that may be Deyjah, may not even be in the way of her being promiscuous. You get what I'm saying? It's going to come back to him. And I think that's where his fear is. So I think he's overcompensating for his shady past. If you see that, you do. If you don't, that's cool too. Also says that he was, like I said, only doing it for Deyjah. He's like, oh, I'm only doing it for you, sweet baby Deyjah. He's doing this out of love. A lot of people are used to seeing black men as absentee fathers. And it would have been like, oh, well, he's a deadbeat. Let this man, parent his daughter however he so choose. Now, what we could do is offer suggestions and offer him some understanding and get the conversation going so that way he can be a better father to her. Never want to, chastise anyone for just trying and doing their best. Like, who knows what his relationship was like with his father? Who was his example? Now, there comes a certain place where if he's coming over the lines, I think any woman should speak up. And more importantly, the women that are closest to him, i.e. the mother of this young lady and his wife, or even Zanique, the women who are around him. I think Jada did a good job with trying to help him understand how women took that comment. Whole idea about him being involved with her gynecologist appointment. I mean, I think he was listening. He wasn't active listening, but he was listening to give a rebuttal. T.I. strikes me as a man who's very, I think he is the type of man in my mind that would do a better job if it was another man who was giving him that type of information. But T.I., here's the thing. If you want to talk about women and being understanding, then what better way than to learn that from a woman? And that comes with being understanding and trusting in the woman that you're receiving the message from. And I think that he has a warped reality of women, maybe because of his lifestyle, maybe because of the things that he's been exposed to at an early age, and even just in coming into stardom. But you could tell he was a little, just listening in, kind of listening. For those of you who are all saying that, oh, Deyjah should have been on the platform, Deyjah should have been there. I'm sure if she wanted to, she probably could have. Maybe this girl didn't want to. Y'all are not taking that into account. Deyjah is on social media. Maybe she's on Instagram. She promotes her little Fashion Nova flat tummy tea. Maybe, I don't know what she really does, but you don't see her in the in the front lines of the media train ever. Like, I don't remember her ever really speaking out. She doesn't even speak much on Family Hustle. So y'all expect her to come bare her soul on Red Table Talk? Maybe this girl just didn't want to talk about it. her dad was the one who made the statement, so he's the one who's cleaning it up. Simple like that. Some of y'all are forgetting the importance it is for a man to be involved in his daughter's life. And you know, I say, like, let's not drag him down, let's not drag him through the mud. T.I. is this, T.I. is that. Let's educate him and let's start these conversations respectfully, so that way it can be received. My grandmother has always said, you know, you have to teach a man how you want to be treated. Sometimes people just don't know, and is he teachable? That's something we need to discuss. Or not necessarily me or you, but the women around him. Again, I feel like the women should play a bigger role. You get what I'm saying? And I understand he comes from this idea, this patriarchal type of makeup, but you have to understand, in this universe there's balance, there's yin and there's yang, and that's for a reason, that there's female and male. It's a combination that makes this perfect harmony, and you can't get too caught up on one side with it and ignoring the other, and vice versa. Women, it's okay for you to be submissive or whatever, however you feel. Let the man take the leadership position. However, in some instances, in some roles, the woman takes the leadership and the man plays the backboard. Like, that's what it is. I didn't make the rules. We just playing by them. We just kind of went over on the deep end, and I think the conversation was a productive one. A lot of people were saying they wish Will were there. Will and Willow, they have a completely different relationship than T.I. and Deyjah. You get what I'm saying? And that's to be normal and to be expected. T.I. needs to talk to somebody who can get on his level. Not to say that Will can't, but he also has to be ready to have those conversations. Let's not take the focus off the fact that this is a black man trying to raise his black daughter. He can do whatever. In my eyes, let this man do what he want to do. He's not causing her no bodily harm, and we can, position him a little bit better. Sure, you know what I mean? We can surround him with some women who can educate him and get him to listen. But to tear him down and say, oh, I think he's lying and I feel like he's still doing it, or whatever the case may be, who am I to judge? Who were you to judge? We're so quick to tear down a black father, but yet and still we have Trump. His daughter wasn't his daughter. He'd be dating her, or something crazy like this. Y'all remember this?
If Ivanka weren't my daughter, perhaps I'd be dating her.
Oh, y'all mad at T.I. for what? You get what I'm saying? Like, Trump is talking about, he's looking at his daughter in a perverted way. T.I. is talking about protecting his daughter, y'all. I think we really need to change the narrative on this one. I know it's probably an unpopular opinion, but as always, let's get this discussion going down in the comment section below. If you haven't already, make sure you like this video, give it a thumbs up. This lets YouTube know that you enjoyed this content. You know how you feel respectfully in the comment section below, because as always, I'm sending you love and light, and I will see you in the next video. Peace.